All right, let's pull back the curtain on the aviation industry and look at a system that is absolutely critical to keeping us safe up there: advanced auditing. And believe me, this isn't about boring paperwork. It's about building quality and reliability into the very DNA of every single flight. So let's get into it.
I want you to really think about this. As a future pro in aviation, you're going to be responsible for processes where there is zero margin for error. Ticking a box might fulfill a requirement, sure, but does it actually guarantee safety when things get real? That's the huge difference we're digging into today.
Okay, so the first thing to get your head around is that auditing today is a whole different ballgame. We're way past the days of a manager just walking around with a clipboard, ticking boxes. Now it's about looking at the entire living, breathing workflow of an airline.
This new way of thinking is what we call the process auditing approach. You'll see it in big international standards like ISO 9000. Under this approach, auditors look at the whole picture: what's going in, what's coming out, and, maybe most importantly, how are you managing risks along the way? It's a top-to-bottom, complete view of how things actually work.
This right here really nails the difference. The old way was just about checking paperwork. Did you file the form? Great. But the new way goes so much deeper. It asks, is this whole workflow actually capable of getting the right result every single time safely? It's a huge shift from just compliance to actual capability.
And at the heart of any solid process, you'll find this really simple but powerful loop. Plan, do, check, act. Auditors are basically trained to hunt for this cycle. Are you planning what you do? Are you doing what you planned? Are you checking to see if it worked? And then, this is the key, are you acting on what you learned to make it even better? This is the engine that drives improvement.
So how does an airline actually prove it's mastered all this stuff? Well, that brings us to the formal side of things, what I like to call the certification gauntlet. Getting that official stamp of approval, like an ISO 9001 certification, is a tough journey, but it proves to the world that you're serious about quality.
Honestly, the easiest way to think about this whole thing is to compare it to getting your driver's license. First, you have all the paperwork, right? You got to prove the car is registered and insured. Then you have to actually get behind the wheel and prove you can drive. A certification audit works almost exactly the same way.
And this journey usually breaks down into a few key stages. Sometimes there's an optional practice run to find any huge issues early on. Then you hit Phase 1, which is all about the paperwork, followed by the main event, Phase 2, the on-site audit where everything gets put under the microscope.
So Phase 1 is the paperwork part of our driving test. The auditors, who are usually working from their own office, will go through your company's quality manual with a fine-tooth comb. They're making sure that, at least on paper, your entire system meets every single requirement before they even think about showing up.
And then comes Phase 2. This is the behind-the-wheel, practical part of the test. Auditors come right to your facility to collect what's called objective evidence. They do this by watching operations, like you see here, by interviewing your staff, and by checking records. They want proof that you do what you say you do.
So after all that watching and reviewing, what happens? The auditors have to make a call. Let's talk about how they classify what they find and what the consequences are.
You need to know this term, nonconformity. It sounds a bit jargony, but all it means is that an auditor found something wrong, a place where the process fails to meet a requirement. And it's not a friendly suggestion. It's a documented gap between what's supposed to be happening and what is happening.
Now, not all problems are created equal. You basically got two levels. A major nonconformity is a total showstopper. This is a serious failure that could impact safety, like skipping a mandatory check. Then there's a minor nonconformity. It's less critical, maybe a typo in a document, but it's still a problem that has to be fixed.
And let me be perfectly clear, if an auditor finds a major nonconformity, everything grinds to a halt. Seriously, the whole certification process stops right then and there. You are not getting certified until that problem is fixed immediately, and the auditors have verified it's been done right.
A minor finding is a lot less dramatic. In this case, the airline is usually given some time to fix the issue, and the auditors will just check on it during their next planned visit. Think of it more like a formal warning, a get your house in order kind of note.
So you finally get that certificate on the wall. You're all done, right? Not even close. Getting certified is just the start of the journey. Staying certified is a continuous cycle.
Here's how it works. A certification is typically valid for 3 years. After that initial audit, the auditors come back for regular check-ins called surveillance audits to make sure you're keeping up the good work. Then, at the end of that 3rd year, it's time for a full recertification audit to start the whole cycle again.
These surveillance audits are kind of like random police checkpoints. They happen every 6 to 12 months, and they're there to make sure you're still a safe driver, so to speak. They'll focus on key parts of your system, especially any changes you've made, and whether you properly fixed any old problems. It keeps everyone on their toes.
Okay, let's bring it all home. Why does any of this stuff actually matter to you? For your future career in cabin services or aviation management, how does this connect to what you'll be doing every day?
All right, if you're going into cabin services, an auditor won't just glance at a signed catering list. No way. They are evaluating the entire meal service process, from the moment catering delivers the food, to how you serve it, to how you manage allergy risks. That's why your procedures have to be so simple and consistent. And for you aviation management folks, auditors are looking at the heart of your operation, things like gate turnaround times or supplier quality. They need to see that your processes are efficient and safe. Your daily work is a huge part of these systems.
And this is a really crucial point. Often, having a quality management system is required by regulation. But getting that external ISO 9001 certification, that's usually a voluntary business decision. An airline does it to send a powerful message to its partners and its customers that it's committed to the absolute highest standards of safety and reliability.
So I'll leave you with this question to carry with you into your careers. Always be asking, is the process I'm in charge of just a procedure written down somewhere? Or is it a real, robust, reliable system that actually makes us safer? Because in aviation, that difference is everything.